Hi everyone, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my library. So today I'm going to be bringing you my November wrap-up. I feel like I've done pretty well this month, to be honest. I have read 6 in a little book, if that counts, 6 in a novella. So I'm really excited to talk about these with you. Is it 6 books? Or have I read more than 6 books? I feel like... surely I've read more than 6 books this month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 in a novella. Alright then. So not as great as I'd planned, but I'm still on track to finish my reading goal by the end of the year. So that's exciting. Anyway. Before we get into me showing you the books that I've read this month, if you could please subscribe and like this video, that would be really helpful. I have been away for a really long time, so I don't feel like the algorithm is going to love me at the moment. So it would really help me get my content out there if you are interested in that. So let's just get into the books that I've read this month. I don't really know if I'm gonna... I've gotten a book out that I did not even read. This one. Okay, so I'm gonna go in order of the books that I've read this month and see how little I remember of all of them, because I feel like this month has gone on forever. I feel like this year has gone on forever and I cannot wait for it to be over. So the first book I read this month was The Switch by Beth O'Leary. She is the author of The Flat Share and I really loved that book. I rated that one 5 stars. This one I rated 4 stars. It is... couldn't tell you any of the people's names in the book, but basically a woman lives in London and her grandmother lives not in London, and she ends up going to visit her grandma after some things have happened in her personal life and she kind of just needs a break. So she goes there and they end up switching lives, or like not lives but just like homes, for a couple of weeks, a couple months, or however long it is that she has off. And she kind of takes along all of her grandma's jobs and things that she needs to do. So she does a lot of community work and organizes things like that. And I think it's like the neighborhood watch or something like that. And then her grandma goes to London to like live her life as the person that she is. Oh well, they're just kind of just trying to get away from their realities and try something different. So I really liked that aspect of it, and you know, she's going back to where she grew up and where her home was as a child, and she kind of reconnects with this guy that she used to know, and it's really cute. And I ended up rating this 4 stars. I should really end up doing like reviews or something so I actually remember how I felt about it, because it has been a while. But basically her grandma is also trying to date again after her husband has passed for a while, and she doesn't know how to get back out there in this day and age. So they give her a little bit of help and try and get her to do some online dating, and it turns out that she's not interested in looking for love. She just happened to have a fling, and she has this cute little fling with this guy, and it's just and then she ends up falling in love with her neighbor, and it's just it's just good. I really enjoyed it. It's something really light and fluffy, and it was just easy to read and enjoyable. And I feel like Beth O'Leary is going to be one of those authors for me where I just enjoy what she writes. So that's that book. Then I read The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chofsky, and I know a lot of people were saying that this is like similar to Six of Crows. I can see where they got that idea from, but I really just didn't think it was the same. I actually liked this one more than Six of Crows. Six of Crows I feel like is overhyped compared to for what it is. I loved the dynamic of the group, but everything else was just kind of like, okay. This one I think I rated 3 stars. I didn't hate it. I really liked the diversity in it, and I really appreciated the setting and things like that. And it just, I think it was, yeah, well, it just didn't give me what I wanted it to give me. And I honestly cannot remember anything about this book. But I remember just like not being overwhelmed. It was just a little underwhelming, to be honest. So yeah, that's a thing. Don't really remember anything else about it. And then I read, let's just move on. I read Reverie by Ryan Lasala, and I really loved the concept of this book, where like people's dreams and things like that kind of come to life, and they're living out their imagination or the dream that they had. And there are these people that can go into those reveries, is that what they're called, and understand that it's not real life, whereas the people that are living it don't understand that, and they kind of defeat all the bad things and things like that. And I thought that the premise of it was so good, just the execution wasn't what I wanted it to be. It kind of seemed a little bit just, I don't know, I don't even know what, see, I can't even put my finger on what it was, and I don't know if it's this, like, just this year in general where I'm just not loving books, but I just felt like I wanted more from it. And yeah, I get that this was like a debut novel, and I just wanted more. Some of the things were like glossed over really quickly, and I didn't really understand what was happening. And then there were things that were just like, yeah, it just didn't hit the spot for me, I guess. So unfortunately, I don't even know what to say. Like, it wasn't bad, it was an okay book. It was okay. So then after that, I ended up reading The Kingdom of Back, which I also rated 3 stars. I did enjoy reading from Mozart's sister's point of view and seeing things and how they like came to be, and I think I ended up reading the author's notes or something like that at the end of it, where it explained where she got the idea of this from, and it's kind of based loosely on real life happenings. So I think that part of it was like really interesting, and I really enjoyed having to see Mozart's sister struggle. So yeah, I guess there were some parts where I really felt for her, where her father took her composing and sold it off as her brothers so they could make money, because women aren't allowed to compose in this day and age. And I guess I really felt for her at that point, but at the same time it just didn't hit the spot that I wanted. And as much as I love music, I guess this just wasn't what I wanted it to be either. So I feel like this is going to be like the general consensus for every book, and that's maybe why I haven't been doing some of these videos, because I just don't have a lot to say. Like, I'm just very underwhelmed by the books that I'm reading, and I think that these fantasy novels are really what's not helping. So that's why I have been moving towards romance and like something that's light and contemporary and can make me laugh, and just something that doesn't have like high stakes or something like that. It's just an easy, bright, breezy book, and I can just enjoy myself without having to worry about much at all. So those are the ones I'm enjoying the most. But I didn't read any more of those this month. I ended up reading Sea Witch by Sarah Henning after that. I think I rated this one 4 stars. I did actually like this one quite a bit. It is like a loose retelling of The Little Mermaid, and I did enjoy that part of it. The relationships within this novel though were just a little bit, I just don't understand. Basically, her best friend Anna drowned, and the prince, which is her best friend, ends up saving her. Well, they both are drowning, and he ends up saving her and not Anna, and Anna dies. And they kind of are living with this guilt that she survived and her best friend didn't. And then this girl comes to town called basically Anna, but Anmanette or something rather. And turns out that she's the main character, Evie, knows that it's Anna that died, and that she's somehow come back to life and is on land and is alive, but she's pretending to be someone else. So Evie wants her to stay and is so sorry that she survived instead of her. She's got the survivor's guilt, and so she kind of tries to do everything she can to make Anna stay, and the only way that she can stay is that if the prince ends up marrying her and falling in love with her. The only problem with that is that his mother is only going to let him marry someone that is established and that has strong ties with the royal family, and she is not that person because she's been dead for like the last 10 years. So she tries to keep her secrets. They find out that she is a mermaid, and Evie says that she's going to keep her secret and all this stuff. And it turns out that Anna is just come back to seek her revenge on Evie for surviving when she should have been the one that survived. So it was really interesting and I liked it, but there's just some things that just didn't work for me. And the ending was probably my favorite part. I really enjoyed, like, yeah, the ending. This is just super coherent, isn't it? So I feel like that was like a lot of suspense and it really drew me into the novel, but I didn't really have any kind of attachment to any of the main characters. I just didn't understand Evie's motivation. Like, yes, she's upset that she survived and Anna didn't, but the things that she was doing just didn't make sense to try and keep her, and it just like she was kind of throwing herself under the bus just to keep Anna there. So I don't know, it was very odd. So that was that. And then I read Momento by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, which is the novella to the Illuminae files, and I rated that one 5 stars. I loved that so much, and it just felt like it wasn't enough. I liked to be able to delve back into that world, but it was like 80 pages or something, and I just wanted so much more than I got. And I guess that's probably a good thing, because you always want to be left with wanting more rather than feeling like you've received too much and it was just like wasn't good enough. So I have to appreciate that fact that they did hit the nail on the head with that one, and I really enjoy Aiden, and I feel like it made me want to reread the entire trilogy again. Excuse me. But I think it's probably time for me to reread it, to be honest. So maybe I'll do that in 2021, because I know I'm going to love it. And then the last book I read for the month, because I don't think I'm going to finish a book by the end of today, but that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So I ended up reading this one 4 stars. It was our name of the book of the month for my book club. So we had our meet last night and we talked about it a lot, and some people really didn't like it, but I found it, Victoria Schwab's writing is just so consumable. It's just so easy to read and you kind of just flip through. This did not feel like a 500-page book, and it was just so easy to consume and understand, and her writing is just so atmospheric. I just love it. The only thing about this book is that I didn't really like Addie as a main character. I really didn't. So basically this is following Addie, who is living in the 1700s and ends up making a deal with the devils, or the gods that answer after dark. So she sells her soul in order to live the life that she wants to live. And obviously the dark gods do not play fair, and he has set her to be forgotten. So she is not a memorable person at all. She cannot say her own name. Anyone that sees her, once they stop looking at her, they forget that she ever existed, and all she really wants is to be remembered. And I think that that's very hard for her in the situation that she's in. So she's kind of been living for 300 years and is just so obsessed with making a mark on the world and being someone that is remembered, that when she meets Henry, another man who has made a deal with the gods who answer after dark, he can remember her, and that's kind of all she's ever wanted. So she really gravitates towards him because she's not so much interested in him as a person, but the fact that he can remember her and that she can kind of leave something behind. And then his deal is that people see him the way that they want to see him and what they want from him, and she doesn't get that. She just sees him for who he really is. So he's been really trying to look for that as well. And obviously we have our third main character is Luke, the god, the dark god. So I did quite enjoy the relationship between Addie and Luke over the years. You kind of flash back and forth to her past and from the present, and you see how her relationship with Luke kind of progresses throughout that. And I did really enjoy his cunningness and the way he doesn't play by the rules and things like that, because that is super realistic to someone who is supposed to be a dark god. So I really did enjoy that, and the ending is what really bumped up my rating for this novel, because the first 400 pages of this book, like nothing really happened. There wasn't really anything that was important. That I feel like a lot of the interesting parts of history that could have been put into this book were kind of glossed over, but I still really enjoyed it. The ending is just like what really bumped it up for me. Obviously I'm not going to spoil it because it's still a new book and I'm sure a lot of people are still wanting to read it, but it was just, I really did like the way that the ending happened, and I really just want to know what's going to happen. And I'm not sure if this is going to be a standalone or if she's going to have more books to this, but she does have a habit of kind of coming back to works that she says are finished. So she's going back to the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy. She ended up writing the Vengeful second book for Vicious. So I feel like there is a chance that in years to come she will revisit this world in one form or another, and I'm really interested to see what happens there. But yeah, I think that Addie LaRue as a main character was just super bland. There wasn't much substance. I'm not sure what the plot actually was, because I feel like this was definitely more of like a character driven novel, but Addie was just so boring. And so I think that Henry and Luke are really what saved this book for me. Otherwise I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as I did. But in saying that, I still rated it 4 stars. It was probably the best book I read this month, to be honest with you. So hopefully next month I will have a better reading month and I will end the year on a high, although this year isn't going very planned, so I guess we'll just see how next month turns out. Anyway, that is all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!